What up to all the subscribers, all the new viewers, all the Patreon members? I want to thank you guys for your support. It really means a lot to me. If you guys can do me a favor, please hit the like button, share this video, and check out the link in the description box below for the Patreon page. All right. I didn't want to make this video during the day. I should have done it at night, but better now than never. And, if you guys are watching on the playback or the upload, that'll be great. So let's get into it. How to move into, excuse me. Let me do that again. How to move in Thailand, part 5. Okay, so I'm making a series for everyone to follow. Okay, and it's a guideline to help you move, not so much move to Thailand. Yes, move to Thailand, but how to move in Thailand. I'm going to break all that down. So part 5 is dating. And I think I need to do 2 parts to this because we're going to break this down. The photo that you see on screen right now, that's all AI. That's not a real photo. Okay, I typed in a bunch of prompts into this AI generator and it made this photo. So AI is getting crazy. This looks like a real picture. For real. The food looks real. Those are definitely Thai dishes. And I've had each and every one of those dishes on the table before. It does taste good. Seem like they're at a restaurant on the Chao Phraya River. All right. I actually think that's a real restaurant, a real place. I think I've been there before. But anyways, let's get into it. So let's start from the top to the bottom. Okay. We're going to talk about the dating experience that each different race have. I'm going to talk about, I don't like using this term, the food chain, who's at the top of the food chain, and I'm going to go from the top to the bottom as far as who's on demand. All right. Who's on demand, who has the best to worst experience dating in Asia. I'm going to break that down. We're going to exclude Asian women. Okay. So in Thailand, obviously for males that want to travel there, they either want to date or have, a fun experience with obviously Thai women, but there's other Asian women there as well. So we're going to exclude all Asian women, and that includes Thai women, Filipinas, Korean, Lao, Cambodia, Vietnamese, Japanese, you name it. So any Asian woman, no matter the nationality that's in Thailand, we're excluding them off the list. And we're going to break down pretty much from the top to the bottom, the best to the worst, who has the best, forgive me for butchering this. I'm trying to find the words to use. Okay. The most respected, man, how can I put it? I'm trying to find the words. I should have had this together before I got on. But in Thailand, from the top of the food chain to the bottom, the top of the pecking order to the bottom, who's probably going to have the best experience dating in Thailand? Okay. So, number one, what do y'all think it's going to be? All right. And I know most of y'all are going to get it wrong. Most people salute the Scant Dollar. Scant Dollar, man, supporter to the channel. I appreciate you being here. All right. But most of you guys are going to get it wrong. So who has the best experience dating in Thailand? Most people are going to get it wrong that's watching it right now. I know most of y'all are going to say white men, white males, Caucasian males. No, you're wrong. Okay. The person who has the best experience dating in Thailand are white women. Okay. White women can pretty much have whatever experience they want in the dating world as far as Thailand. Well, of course, anybody, doesn't matter the race, gender, anybody could just go to Thailand and say, hey, I'm moving here. I'm not worried about anybody dating. I just want to relax, experience life. Um, I'm not really looking for a sexual partner right now. I'm not in that zone. I just want to explore. I want to try the food. I want to experience the culture. I want to go to the museums. I want to go to the night train markets, and I'm not looking into that right now. Surely anybody can say that. That's okay. And of course, Caucasian women can go there and do just that. I've seen that. Okay. I'll look for all that later, but this is what I want to do. I just want to set out and explore. I'm not looking for a sexual experience right now or dating relationships. I just want to explore solo and do this on my own, not worrying about anybody. None of that right now. I've met women who have done that. They enjoyed their time. Great. Okay. Caucasian women, they also can say, hey, you know, I'm in Thailand. I'm from this part of town and in this state in America. I'm from Canada. I'm from the UK. You know, I want to find a man from my own culture, from my own race. I want to find another Caucasian male to explore and travel the country of Thailand with, but nobody around where I live at is interested in doing that. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the men around where I live at, they don't understand why I want to move to Thailand. They're cool with visiting Thailand. They don't understand why I just want to get up and relocate to Thailand. So sometimes people just say, hey, you know what? I can't find anybody where I live that wants to explore and go on this journey with me. So when I land in Thailand, I'll find my tribe, like I talked about in the last video. I'll find my tribe, find somebody who I can connect with, somebody from my own culture, my own background. Um, Connect with somebody. Hopefully, we start dating, we hit it off, and then we could just travel around Thailand or travel around Asia together and enjoy the experience with their significant other. I've met a lot of women who've done that. Okay. So if they want to travel by themselves and not worry about dating, they could do that. If they want to travel to Thailand and find somebody of their own race and date with somebody and explore and travel and live together and build with each other over in Asia, they could do that. I've seen that. If and this is for anybody that's LGBT out there, if somebody says, hey, you know what, I want to go over here and find another woman who I could share my life with over in Thailand, they could do that as well. If a woman wants to say, hey, you know what, I want to find an Asian man who I can build a life with over in Thailand, they find Asian men attractive, they could easily do that. Easily. That's the easiest thing for them to do. Okay. I remember real quick, this wasn't in Thailand, this was in China. This was actually the most popular video that got the most views on this channel. And this was back in 2017 when I reported this. I was actually living in Thailand at the time, Mega Bang Na, that's on the east side of Bangkok. I was off what station is that? Bering BTS station. I was living off of that station in Bang Na. I did a story talking about a couple in China. There was a Chinese man, young male. He ended up marrying a white Russian woman, and she was very cute. And this man was like a construction worker, and he had housing. A lot of the construction workers and the construction sites, they build dorms on site or near the construction site for the construction workers to live in while they're working, and it's very, very poor conditions. And um, I've never been inside these dorms that they build, but I've seen it. Okay. For those that don't know, I've either lived or traveled abroad for the last 17 years, and I used to live in China. I've also lived in Thailand. And so these dorms, um, these shacks that they build, very poor conditions, rats, snakes, roaches, leaky roofs, you name it. This woman, this Russian woman, she met this guy in China. She was living in China. I think she was an English teacher. She met this guy, but he was away so much because he was working at a construction site, but she wanted to be close to him. She wanted to be near him. So she ended up quitting her job and moving into the dorm, to the construction dorm, to be with him, even in those conditions. And that blew up and made headline news. Whenever you see that, um, a lot of the Asian women was kind of like, well, what's so special about him for a beautiful white woman to even want to be with him? Right. And a lot of the men, the Asian men, were saying how jealous they were of him. Like, damn, he was able to find him a cute white woman, this, that, and the third. That's why that story blew up in Asia. And I got the most views out of that story when I talked about it on this channel. Okay. Because an Asian man with a white woman, that's a very big deal in Asia. You know, Asian women will look at them and say, damn, how did he get her? And Asian men will look at them and say, damn, he's so lucky. They get a lot of attention. So if a Caucasian woman wants to go to Asia and find herself an Asian man to marry, have children, or date, whatever experience they want to have in Asia, they can have it. If there's a woman, and I say this with respect, if there's a woman who has a sexual appetite, they can live that life. I've seen it. Most men are not going to turn these women down, right? Whether it be with Asian men, white men, any other race in Thailand, most men are not going to turn them down. All right. So I would say, as far as on the dating pyramid, white women are at the top. That's the best way for me to put it. On the dating pyramid, white women are at the very, very top over in Thailand. Now, number 2 would be white men. Okay. White men are number 2 on the dating pyramid in Thailand because, and the reason why the number 2 is this. Okay. I used to see this a lot, especially back in 2014 when I first moved to Thailand. You'll see very old Caucasian males, big belly. Doesn't matter how their hair looks. They could have the Rodney Dangerfield eyes, just sticking out, bloodshot red, right? Doesn't matter how they're dressed. Doesn't matter how big they are, how old they are. They were always with a young, cute Thai woman. That kind of started to slow down around about 2017, 2018. You still see it, but not as much as when I saw it in 2014 when I first got there. And it was probably even more. You probably saw that even more the years prior to 2014. But, white, especially for the men, it's a status symbol in Asia. It is a status symbol. They're the most respected. All right. Businesses will hire somebody Caucasian, not even to work there full time, but let's say they're opening up a business and they're cutting a ribbon. They'll hire somebody Caucasian, especially a Caucasian male, Caucasian female, to cut the ribbon. They'll pay them just to do that. Right. They'll have cameras, they'll take pictures, and they feel like, hey, man, if I have somebody Caucasian, whether it's on the advertisement, working at the business, or just cutting the ribbon, I'll gain respect within the community, and that will solidify my business, right? It's kind of like an authentication process for my business, okay? that will, how can I put it? All right. That will solidify my business as far as me being, um, verified. Like if I'm verified by somebody Caucasian, then, you know, that'll gain trust from people within the community, other ties. If they see, okay, there's Caucasian or white people that go here or work here or they're advertised here, that's a cosign. That's the biggest cosign they can get. Okay. So whenever somebody Caucasian or Caucasian male shows up in Thailand, somewhere in Asia, uh, in many cases, business will be thrown at them, right? If they have the effort, if they put in the effort that would amount to the level of a mustard seed, if you put in mustard seed effort in Asia as a white male, you will do just fine, especially over in China. All right. I'm talking about the amount of effort is the amount of to a mustard seed. They will do just fine. Whether it be a teacher in uh, tech, I've seen guys didn't really have too much credentials, right? They'll become a principal at a school. They'll become the dean at a university. If they want the position. You'll see over at Icon Siam at the Apple store, you'll see Caucasian men working there. Okay. So women know that, okay, white male, status symbol, and if I'm around him, resources will be given to him. He has easier access to resources, and through him, I have access to resources as well. Okay. I I get a baby, a mixed child out of the deal, resources, a house, right? Money, this, that, and the third. Now, the reason why the number two is because there's so many cases, so many stories in the news of a lot of women, especially local women over in Thailand, playing the long game with some of these men, only for these men to either go out of town or whatever the case may be. And when they come back, the safe is empty, the bank accounts have been emptied, the gold is missing, right? The cash that they had saved, instead of putting it in a bank or putting it in a mutual fund, right? Or putting in a Charles Schwab account, investing in the index funds, right? They have a bunch of money in a safe or a bunch of money in a backpack. They got gold in a safe. And women kind of know how to play the long game to build up trust with a lot of these men, to where it's kind of like, hey, when I met her, she's sweet, kind, innocent, right? She respects me, cooks for me all the time. She had my child. We got married. You know, the visa process was, it's been a journey. It's kind of, annoying at times, especially even when you're married, you still have to check into immigration every single year. Excuse me. You still have to check into immigration every single year. So it can be annoying at times, but through her, I was able to get a visa. I was able to get married. I was able to have a child. I was able to, instead of just purchasing a house, we have a home, right? A family home. She provided a family for me. She cooks for us. She massages my back without even me asking. Very loving. This, that, and the third. Only for one day, one day, years down the line, you come back home and everything is gone. There was one story that I reported over the dozens of stories that I've reported on this years ago. I used to see this story every week. damn near, or every other week in Thailand. There was one story. This guy was married. They didn't have any kids, but they had a really nice house. It's a European guy. I forgot what part of Europe he was from. He had a Ducati. He had a safe. They had a joint bank account. I think he went back home to visit his family. He asked his girlfriend or his wife to come with him. She was like, "Nah, I'm real busy with this and a third here. I'll go with you next time. I'll hold it down. Right? You go, I'll hold it down over here." He was like, "All right." He left. She called up a cousin or a family member from the province, from the northern province she was from, to come down. I think they were living in Pattaya, to come down to Pattaya and be like, "Hey, look, I don't know how to ride motorcycles. I know how to ride scooters. I don't know how to ride motorcycles." She called a family member that knew how to ride motorcycles and said, "Hey, I got the keys to his Ducati. Come get this Ducati. I know the safe. I know there's gold. I know how much money is in there. And I'm going to empty the bank account and we're going to dip." And that's what happened. She took the bike. She took the Ducati. And I don't think it was a Panigale. Regardless, I mean, that's like a $25,000 to $30,000 bike that she took. All right. But that story, I've seen that dozens of times in Thailand. There was another story out of Pattaya again where this guy was married to a Thai woman. They had a child. And one day he came home, her and the baby was gone. He checked the bank account was empty. She took thousands and thousands of dollars out of there. I think he had like some of his retirement money in there. And she took the daughter, took the money, took the motorbike, and then went back home to her hometown in her province to her boyfriend, to her Thai boyfriend. And the guy got so angry that he wanted to burn down his own house. So he started a fire in the garage. Started a fire in the garage, and he had a knife. And he held the knife up. This is a Caucasian male. He held the knife up to police officers that showed up, firemen that showed up. They smacked the knife out of his hand, and they put the fire out. Right? He didn't get arrested. I guess they kind of felt sorry for him, and they understood where he was coming from. Couldn't find her. Didn't get his money back. Same thing, the guy with the Ducati. Couldn't find her. Didn't get his bike back. Didn't get his money back. Didn't get his gold back. Right? So the reason why I say white males as far as dating in Thailand are number two is because a lot of them are targeted. A lot of them are targeted for wrong reasons. All right. I've seen guys they've gotten their jewelry snatched on the strip, by lady boys, by women. I've seen Caucasian males that got drugged and taken advantage of. Credit cards were stolen, wallet was stolen, bank account was emptied, you name it, right? I've seen them get drugged and robbed by not only women, but lady boys. And they had a wife back home, and they had to explain to the wife what happened. All right. But I've heard some stories of, to me, and I could be wrong, right? But from what I observed, Caucasian women are not targeted in Thailand the way Caucasian males are targeted in Thailand. All right. And some women are very aggressive. I've seen one woman, one guy, he told me that I think he was a teacher at a school. Either he was a professor. I think he was a professor at a university. Either he was applying to be either he was the dean or he was just a professor at the university. He told me that when he was going into a classroom or he was done teaching a class, so in between time, he didn't have a class, so he was still in the room. And one of the other female professors who was Thai, spoke to him, asked him, did he like Thai girls? And he was like, yeah, but I'm single. This is and a third. I just got here. So, I'm still looking. He was like, do you like Thai women? He was like, yeah. So then he called the Thai professor calls in female students that are of age. This is at a university. All right. So he said it was about 7 or 8 of them lined up in front of him, but she was speaking Thai. And he was like, man, what's going on here? He said that she said something to them in Thai and they all lift up their skirts in front of him and they had no panties on. And he was like, it was awkward. He was shocked. It was wild. It was crazy. And he was just like, hey, no, 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 no. Put your skirt down. You're doing too much. Stop. No, no, no. He was like, I didn't know what to do. I just kind of was like, he was like, this has never happened. He was like, I kind of, he goes, I was speechless. I didn't know what to do. Right. He also said that he had a student and her mother was kind of concerned about her grades. So the mother came up to the university to speak to him about the class. And she also said, is it okay if you have sex with my daughter? When you're about to come, I want her to swallow your sperm because swallowing the sperm from a white man will probably make her smarter. That's what she told him. All right. So white males, yes, they're highly respected in countries like Thailand, but they're also targeted. All right. Good, bad, right, or wrong, they are targeted. And I don't mean so much in a negative way. You could probably look at it in a good way also. Some guys take advantage of it and it doesn't really end well sometimes for these men, right? Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it could be a little bit too overwhelming. It could be scary. Like I told you, this guy's a professor at a university minding his business, and a woman calls in 8 students to lift up their skirts, and they had no panties on. He was like, it was the craziest experience, the craziest situation he's ever been put in. And then a mother saying, I want my university daughter to have sex with you and to swallow your sperm so that it can make her smarter. Now, was he lying? I don't think he was lying. I've heard a lot of stories like this over in Asia. All right. I've seen and heard a lot of crazy things that white males have experienced over in Asia. All right. So, the top of the pyramid, I would have to put white women because white women, even though they could date who they want, they can have whatever dating experience they so desire in Asia. Right? I haven't heard anything crazy like that. Right? I've seen white women be the center of attention like it's nothing. I've seen white women in Thailand be, convert a bunch of people into Christianity. And, you know, people have the free will to do that. But and these ties, they were religious prior to them becoming a Christian, right? They were religious. I don't just want to I don't want to say Buddhist because I don't know all the different religions that's over in Thailand. I don't know all of them, right? So I just don't want to chalk it up and just say it's Buddhism, right? It could be something else, right? But for conversational purposes, we'll just say Buddhism. I saw this one Caucasian lady. She converted probably like over 100, 120 Thai students at a university into Christianity, right? So Caucasian people going over to Asia, they have that much influence, right? But as far as Caucasian women, they can have whatever experience, dating experience that they want, whatever their heart desires, they can get it over in Thailand as far as in the dating world. Caucasian men, in the beginning, it kind of seems like they can have whatever dating experience their heart so desires. But I've seen a lot of men lose it all, excuse me, lose it all because they were targeted, right? And they don't play the short game over in Thailand. These women that are targeting men for all the wrong reasons, they play the long game, 4, 5 years, right? I remember one guy, there was another guy, lived out in the middle of nowhere, had a house, and went out the country with his wife, came back, and when they came back, they had like a welcoming home party, and she had all her friends and neighbors there. Everybody's in the front barbecuing and shit like that. But then some guy pulls up on a motorbike, goes behind the house, breaks in, and steals a bag that they had most of their savings in. Takes it, knew exactly where the bag was, puts it on his back, rides off in the sunset on his motorbike. He calls the cops. Nowhere in the article does he suspect that his wife probably has something to do with it. Right? So you see that a lot. You see that a lot. You see people that work so hard, you know, they like moving and living out in the middle of nowhere. So, you know, they have a lot of their savings in a safe or in a bag, right? They trust the wife a lot. It's like, hey, this is my wife. Why wouldn't I be able to trust her? She has all the passwords to all the accounts, right? The crypto, the index funds, the stocks, everything. Um, the combination to the safe, and all of a sudden, right? Money is gone, gold is gone, precious metals, gems are gone from the safe. Who knew the combination to the safe other than him and his wife? Well, whoever his wife told. Who knew where that bag was going to be? Whoever his wife told. But they don't ever suspect the wife. So that's the only downside. Well, that's the only thing that I've seen a lot of white guys go through. I've seen them with a lot of beautiful women, right? And not just Thai. You know, you'll see some guys um they'll date other races of women in Thailand because other races of women are there. Filipinas, Vietnamese, Koreans, Japanese, um, Indonesians, right? Chinese. You know, they date them all. I've seen some of the most beautiful women, whatever their heart so desires as far as professionally in Thailand, they get it. White man wants to work here, come on down. We got a position for you, right? So I've seen it. And so I would put white men second on the dating pyramid. Now, third, I have racially ambiguous. So honorary white males, anybody that's in between, anybody whose skin is pretty much fair or light in between. So somebody who's quote unquote Latino or racially ambiguous, like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, racially ambiguous, not dark, right? That's what I'm talking about. They're third on the pyramid. Just as long as you're not dark and people can't really pinpoint your nationality or what race you are, right? Just as long as you're not dark, you're pretty much third on the pyramid. You still gain a certain level of respect. I would say, did I say Latinos earlier? A lot of Asians, when I was in Asia, they when you use the term Hispanic or Latino, they don't know what that is. They're like, "Hey, what is that?" And that's a good point because um, America recognizes Latino as like a subculture, but it's they don't recognize it as a race because it's a fixed mulatto race, and I don't want to get too deep into that, right? So when you say Hispanic or Latino, a lot of Asians I've met over the years, they were like, "Hey, what is that?" All right, but y'all know what I mean when I say that. So anybody who's racially ambiguous or like a fixed mulatto race, or just as long as you're light, you're pretty much good, right? Especially for the women. But at the same time, are they up there with Caucasian women? Not so much. Especially, I remember I met this one. I met this one. This one girl. She was Colombian, right? So you already know where I'm going with this. Curvy, looked real good. She had like the wet hair look, but as far as Asian men, you know, I never asked what her interest was, what her preference was, or anything like that. I just know as far as Asian men, she probably would have been considered a little bit too big, too curvy for them. So I never saw her with an Asian man. Um, I seen her with um like another Latino looking guy that so happened to be living in Thailand as well, right? I'm pretty sure uh, foreign men living in Thailand deemed her attractive. She was attractive, but as far as the beauty standard of Asia, hey man, she didn't really fit the beauty standard, but the beauty standard kind of goes out the window a little bit when it is a Caucasian female or a Caucasian woman in Thailand. Does that make sense? They're allowed to, the rules can be bent for them. All right. Now, fourth on the pyramid, I would have to put Asian men. Okay. Now, it depends, right? Fourth, I would have to put Asian men on the dating pyramid. Thailand, you see a lot of Chinese, excuse me, you see a lot of Chinese Thais or Chinese people living in Thailand. And these are a lot of the reason why there's a lot of Chinese Thais or Chinese people, is a large Chinese population in Thailand, is because of they were seeking asylum from, I don't want to go too deep into history. These were the people that were allowed to receive asylum within the country years ago. And the reason why they received asylum and they were seeking asylum was something I'll have to talk on the Patreon page, right? Um, it was during the era of Mao Zedong. I'll just put it that way. But so there's a lot of Chinese ties. There's a lot of ties that are biracial mix, and there's a lot of Chinese people that travel to Thailand, that are trying to relocate to Thailand. There's a lot of men trying to get out of China to move to Thailand, find wives, um, receive residency in Thailand. So I've seen a lot of guys marry single mothers in Thailand. I've seen a lot of Chinese men marry single mothers in Thailand. All right. They sometimes, a lot of these guys, they don't even get a child out of the deal. So they treat the woman's child as if it was their own. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like, hey, look, I got the residency. I didn't really get the child or whatever, but I got the residency in Thailand. I got my business, or I got my job here. I live in a different life, right? I have access to women or a woman over here. I'm cool because in China, there's 40 million more men than women. All right, so it's very, very difficult for men to find women over in China. There's a lot of virgins over there, millions and millions and millions of virgins. All right, so I can go deeper into that, talking about China. I've talked about it before, but not in this video. All right, so I'm not going to say that Asian men on the pyramid have the better experience. How can I put it? I'm not going to say Asian men have the best experience as far as dating, especially foreign Asian men in uh in Thailand, right? But people can find their tribe and they do just fine. Remember, the last video was find your tribe. So you see Filipino men, Filipino women who was able to find occupation, was able to find a job in Thailand, and was able to find work in Thailand. They have their own community. So within their community, you'll see Filipino men with Filipino women. You see single Filipino women dating foreigners. All right. They start up their own schools. They have their own. They have, places where they can get their own food and their own communities, their own kind of small neighborhoods that they build there. Right. Japanese people. I did not know there was that many Japanese people living in Thailand, right? Some of them have their own businesses there. I went to a soccer game. It was Japan versus Thailand, and during that game, Japan won. But I was invited by an associate of mine who was Japanese. He was like, I got an extra ticket. Do you want to go? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I went to the game, and it was a pretty big stadium. I sat on the Japanese side with him. He was like, yeah, everybody on this side of the stadium is all Japanese. I was like, wow, right? A lot of them was with their families, friends. And I was like, and I'm pretty sure there was a lot more Japanese people living in Bangkok than what I saw in that stadium. But I never seen that many Japanese people together at once in Thailand ever, right? And through the associate, he showed me around to different places where there were businesses, different Japanese businesses that were there in Bangkok as well. All right. Um, they'll date other Japanese women, but they also date and whatever it is that they're looking for in Thailand, they seem to be enjoying themselves. As a matter of fact, let me say this: everybody besides the black man, everybody is besides the black man in Thailand, they seem to understand that. How can I put it? Right? They seem to understand, man. If they want certain experiences, I'm not going to go too deep, but if they want certain experiences from women in Thailand that are offering those services, they understand that they need to pay for it, right? Everybody besides the black man, I'll get into that in a minute, understand like, hey, you know, if there are women offering services, which are all around Thailand, right? It's everywhere. I need to pay for it, and there's nothing. I don't have no problems for me paying for it. As a matter of fact, the guy who invited me to the soccer game in Thailand, I mean, he's told me that he went to Nana Plaza plenty of times. Right? So it doesn't matter if they can't find a girlfriend or not. Right? They don't care. It's like as long as I'm making money, I can pay for an experience. And they understand this. White males, racially ambiguous males, Asian men, they understand, hey man, if I'm lonely, I'm bored, I need some sexual healing or whatever, I can pay for an experience because it's being offered. It's being sold, it's being offered everywhere in the city. And I have no problems experiencing that. If I want to pay for 30 minutes to an hour, I could do that. If I want to pay for a threesome, I could do that. If I want to pay for somebody to come over and cook, I can do that. If I want to pay for somebody to come over and spend the night with me, I can do that. Most men, besides black males, understand that. Right? And Asian men, that includes East Indians, right? Sri Lankans, Pakistani, it's all on the continent of Asia. They understand this. Have I seen an East Indian married to a Thai woman? I haven't seen that in person. I'm pretty sure there are interracial couples where there's an East Indian man and a Thai woman. I'm pretty sure that exists, right? But when you go over to places like Phuket or Pattaya, well, I'm not sure about Phuket, never been there, but Pattaya, East Indian men, they know the drill. They understand, hey, if I want if I want to have a great experience, I want to have a good night. If these services are being offered, not only will I pay, I will overpay. Most East Indians, they overpay to build up a more positive reputation. Now, a lot of guys, they complain and say, hey, you're messing up the market doing this, right? It doesn't matter. In their minds, I'm pricing you out so that I can have a good experience and a good time this evening. All right. Dating and relationships. Have I seen that? No. But have I seen guys of East Indian descent pay for services to have their girlfriend experience? Yes. Now, who's next on the pyramid? Who's next on a dating period? I'm going to say African men. All right. African men are next on a dating period. And I do break it down between Black American men and African men. Black American men are not next after Asian men on the dating pyramid in Asia. It is African men. So it's white women, white men, racially ambiguous men and women. All right. Asian men and African men. Why is African men on there? Because African men, for the most part, African men, they a lot of them are bilingual, trilingual. They'll learn the language and they can better communicate with the women in Thailand. I've met a few African men who learn Thai, right? A lot of Americans do not, or just Westerners, foreigners, do not really take the time out to learn multiple languages. I'm not saying all, but a lot, especially Black American men. All right. We do not take the time out to learn languages like that. Whereas, like some people from certain countries, it's almost required to learn multiple languages. You learn your native tongue from your village, and you need to learn English, right? So the process of learning a language they're used to, they've someone sort of probably mastered it, right? If I can get good enough to learn English and to be able to communicate it and speak it and have an effective outcome speaking the English language, learning the English language to move further along in life, whether it be through business, networking, relationships, then I could apply that same level of effort into other languages because English is one of the hardest languages to learn on this planet. Yes, it is. If I can get to conversational level with English, I know my own native tongue conversational level with English, then the rest of these other languages, not gonna say it's easy, right? But it should damn near it should damn near be a walk in the park with a few difficulties here and there, with a learning curve. A walk in the park with a learning curve, right? Especially Thai. But in Thai, there's like what 26 different vowels, so that makes it very difficult. But I met a few Africans when I was in Thailand who did speak Thai, and man, I remember there was some women that you know I thought we was going somewhere, and I didn't hear from them again, and then when I ran into them years later, they ended up in a relationship with an African. And the reason why they ended up in a relationship with an African was because, they spoke Thai, so it was easier to communicate with them. You speak their language, it's like, hey, doesn't matter if you feel like you look better than somebody, right? It's just, I'm tired of using a translator every time we're around each other or just texting. I want to be able to talk to you and be able to joke and laugh with you without being misunderstood through translation by way of a phone or an app. All right. The translator many times can translate something wrong and something can come across as offensive or doesn't make sense because it's a translator. But when you learn the language and you don't need a translator, the conversation just flows. So I say African men because I'm not saying all of them know Thai that live in Thailand. But as far as trying to make it in Thailand, they have every disadvantage in on their side. Being black, um, not having an American passport, not having a strong passport at all, right? The nationality is stacked against them. So it's kind of like to overcompensate that, I need to be ahead, especially of black Americans, because I have the chips stacked against me. So I out of survival, I need to learn the language. Does that make sense? Now, I've seen I could probably count on one hand. I could probably count on one hand some of the Africans that have pulled women that were attractive. But for the most part, I never really seen African brothers with the most attractive women. Right. Like I said, I can only count on one hand, but I haven't met all Africans in Thailand. But the ones that I did see, most of them, it was it was kind of sad what they pulled up with. All right. Of course, big women, single mothers, um, yeah, you know, big ogre looking women, barking orders at them. I've seen it. I've seen it. I remember there was this club called Route something. Was it Route 55? It was a club where a lot of Africans would hang out. It was Africans and Thai women. I looked at the photos. It looked like a haunted house. Looked like a Halloween haunted house where everybody with costume on. That's what it looked like. And they didn't have a costume on. They didn't have a mask on. That was their real face and their real build. Was that too disrespectful? My bad. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I've seen Africans in Thailand just kind of pull anything. Right. And it's just like, yeah, I've seen some, like I said, a handful with some cute women. I'm not going to say 110% of them pull the raggediest looking women, but I've seen some of them, well, most of them, they pull some baby bop looking women out there in Thailand. All right. So who's next on the dating pyramid? What if the white woman is older and fat? Do I can get somebody on this phone right now, and him and I know, uh, him and I know, I can get somebody on the phone right now, and I can say a name, and he'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I remember her." All right. There was this tall, big white woman. Hair was fucked up. Um, she had somewhat of a cute smile. Body was refrigerator build. She just had big titties. She always had her feet out in sandals. Feet was real crusty, right? And she fucked everybody. She was just one of those ones who was like, hey, I'm not really necessarily looking for anything serious or whatever. She just had a sexual appetite. She was sexually free. And I'm not judging, but every time she came back to work after the weekend, she has stories upon stories of guys that she hooked up with. I mean, foreigners, Asians, Thais, Koreans, you name it. All right. She had them all. And trust me, she was every bit of a three. All right. So the next person on the dating pyramid, mm, I would have to say Caribbean men. All right. Caribbean men are right after African men because Caribbean men, um, I don't think I ever met a Caribbean man who I don't think I ever did I meet somebody Caribbean? I met people that were Caribbean American, but somebody who was actually from the Caribbean, I never met in Thailand. I met people who were Caribbean in other Asian countries, China, Japanese, and you know, they had wives that they met out of Canada, right? Canada seems to be a hot spot where you'll have foreign exchange students coming from Japan or China or Taiwan. They met somebody on their foreign exchange program in Canada, a Caribbean guy. They ended up going back to Japan together, or Taiwan together, Korea together, China, right? I've seen that. All right. And their wives weren't that bad. I think that some of these guys were a tad bit eccentric, and that's kind of what made them appealing to some of these women. Um, some of these guys will learn the language, all right, especially if they're with a woman that is of a country that they're interested in traveling to. They'll learn the language as well. So I would put Caribbean men kind of there with African men, but I would have to put African men above Caribbean men on the dating pyramid because African men, I've seen women get with African men in Thailand and then kind of, they get married, have residency over in Africa, and they have access to the land. They have access to certain herbs and uh, minerals from that country, and they end up starting their own beauty line, or they end up starting their own gym business, working in the gym district. I've seen that. So some of these women will do drop shipment. They'll send supplies over to certain African countries. When they'll date an African man, it's kind of like, okay, I can, I can really start a business, right? I can work, buy this cheap washing machine, send it over to Africa, make a profit, sending it back to Africa, or I could send all this stuff in a barrel and make a profit for whatever their needs are over in this African country. I've seen it. I've seen women have access to the land. They do their research. They'll come up with a beauty line, right? They find this herb from this certain tree over from their country. This helps replenish the skin this way. And, you know, I've seen it. So I there are Asians that do move and live and start their own businesses in the Caribbean, but with what with the the business ideas that women come up with by dating and marrying some of these men. It's I can't really put them there at the same, right? When you have women who are just like, hey, look, this is who I date, and I'm an entrepreneur. It's dollar signs when they see somebody African because now they have access to the land and they have access to thousands of consumers. Do you understand? So I have to put Caribbean men right after African men. Uh, Black men, I would have to now after Caribbean men, I'll have to say black men, non-American. So these are black men that are, and you could probably put these guys, some of these guys, you can put them interchangeable, either above African men and Caribbean men or after African and Caribbean men. We're talking about black men who are from Europe, right? Raised in Europe, raised in Canada. Some of these guys, they understand that, hey, man, if I come to Thailand and dating wise, I'm not going to sit around with my heart on my sleeve, you know, approaching every woman uh with a marriage proposal. So a lot of these guys, they understand black men, non-American, so Canadian, they so happen to be Australian, New Zealand, or somewhere in Europe, right? The only black guy in Hungary or Croatia who grew up Croatian, speaks Croatian and English, and or speaks German and English, travels over to Thailand. These guys, these guys, they also understand, like, hey, man, if I want to have an experience and they're offering this as a service, I'm going to pay for it. All right. It's for sale. I'm going to pay for it. And there's no shame whatsoever. There's no shame in any other race except the black American male race. There's shame in paying for certain services from women that are offering it in uh in Thailand. You don't see any other race. As a matter of fact, let me just skip to it. And the reason why I put black men, non-American men above black American men is because the person who put me up on game, the person who put me up on game about living abroad, teaching English abroad, traveling, this guy, he was Canadian. He was a black Canadian guy. And this guy, he was beyond thirsty. I mean, he would hook up with 5, 6, 7 women in a day and pay for it. You see what I'm saying? Especially because he lived in Korea, and then when he would go on vacation in the Philippines or in Thailand, he would just wild out. I got to get him on the platform. I got to interview him one day. This guy, I knew him and another guy. Was the three of us. The other guy, he was African. All right. The other guy who was African, he now lives in China, in Beijing. But he knew him very well also. He'll tell you. The African will tell you, he was like, look, that dude was beyond thirsty. If he disappeared, he's with a woman and he'll be back in 30 minutes. Right. And if he goes out, he'll do that throughout the night 3 or 4 times. Right. But there was no shame. He felt no shame because it's like, okay, so what? This is what the world does. Right. They're offering it. This is legal over here. They're offering it. Other men understand. White males, Asian males, right? they understand. It's kind of like if somebody Chinese, East Indian comes over to Thailand, it's like, so what if I'm not husband material for them? So what if I'm not the most handsome man to them? So what if they look down on the men from my community or my nationality? If they're offering this service at a price, I have the money, I'm going, they're going, everybody's satisfied. Business was handled, everybody's satisfied. And this brings me to Black American men. Black American men are the second, they're not at the very, very bottom of the pyramid. They're at the second to last on the dating pyramid. Why? Because it's like Black American men, there's a lot of, it's still pimp and player culture is still instilled into the minds of a lot of brothers who travel. So it's mentally, it's like, especially through the music, it's looked down upon. You know, a lot of brothers wear their hearts on their sleeves. She want me for me conversation. You know, I put on this outfit, I wear this cologne, I put on these shoes, I talk this way, I move like this, I walk like that, I talk like this, and that's all the women gonna fall out when they see me or they hear me. And I don't gotta spend no money. Black American men are the only ones that'll go into Thailand and feel like, hey, I ain't gotta spend no money. I'll just show up fly and I'm smooth or whatever. And the women, I'm gonna choose up on who choose me. I'm gonna hook up with who like me, whoever want me, right? I'm gonna holler at a few women on the strip and see what's happening, right? But then get on the internet and complain about, man, none of these women are choosing, right? All these bitches, they just selling sex out here. I've seen this. I've seen guys get on TikTok and Instagram complain that, man, I'm out here in Pattaya, Thailand, and man, whatever. This ain't what I thought it was gonna be. All these women out here, they just want money, right? They just selling sex for money. Duh, you idiot. That's the biggest red light district in the world. Why did you I don't understand black American male logic sometimes. Especially when it comes to the travel game. You go over to the biggest hole stroll in the world and complain that women are selling sex. You are out of your fucking mind. I ain't spend no money. I ain't got to spend no money. Man, 'cause I ain't got to do all that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing. Why are you there? Why? It's an ego thing that a lot of brothers have, saying that, hey, man, this person doesn't like me. A lot of black people in general, especially from America, they travel with their hearts on their sleeves, looking for acceptance and wanting to be around people that like them. Hey, do you like me? There's no racism, right? The- You're not racist, are you? Do you like me? Can I get a hug? Can I get a pat on the head? Can I get sex for free? Can you be my friend? A lot of other races of people don't think like this sometimes, right? And it's kind of like it doesn't matter who who thinks this way about me. I know what a lot of people think of me, and I don't want to keep harshing or rehashing different nationalities that women tend to think negatively towards in Thailand, because that's not what this is about. All that goes out the window when you have money in hand, right? And I'm not trying to make this a prostitution stream, but too many black American men wear their hearts on their sleeves when they travel. You go to some of these places where, it's a developing country, third world, whatever you want to call it. They're in extreme harsh living conditions. They have no AC. It's 4 to 5 people sleeping on one bed. They have an old mattress. They haven't been able to buy a new mattress. The sheets are dingy. The mattress is soggy, right? There's stains in the bathroom, in the home that bleach won't even be able to get out. Holes in the floor, right? When it rains, there's rats, there's snails, there's spiders, there's snakes all in the house, right? Water coming up to the dresser, coming up to the wall. When the water subsides 2 days later, you see water damage all at the base of the house. 2 feet of water just damaged. 2 feet of water stains all throughout the house, on the walls, right? Moldy, asbestos, black mold all throughout the house. No AC, and it's 100 degrees all year round in Thailand. But you got guys who want free sex, and I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to make this right a prostitution stream, but you got brothers who come over to Thailand with thousands of dollars wanting free sex from these women coming from these harsh living conditions. You are out of your fucking mind. All right. And then run onto the internet talking about, man, I don't like this place no more because, man, all these women out here, all they want to do is just sell sex. And you're in Pattaya, you're on Walking Street, you're on Soy 6 saying this. That's like walking into a casino and complaining that, hey, man, all they want is your money in here, right? All they want you to do is just play the slot machine, play games, and lose your money. But you in a casino. Get out the casino and go someplace more productive if you don't like that type of environment. Man, I don't like this place. It's all quiet and nobody talking and this boring. In a library complaining. You had the biggest whole stroll. Pattaya, Walking Street, complaining that all the women there are just selling sex. You got to be the biggest idiot on planet Earth. You showed up with thousands of dollars wanting free sex from women who they don't even have access to food every day. They don't have access to running water every single day. What's it going to hurt you to give $50? And it's not even about the money at the end of the day. It's about being liked. Do you like me? Can I get a hug? Can I get a pat on the head? I mean, brothers with passports, they show up to different countries delusional. Very delusional. And that puts you at the bottom of the dating pyramid. You could go up a few notches. Right? You could be kind of mid-tier in the dating pyramid, but you wear your hearts on your sleeves too much. And man, people are in business. Right? People want new shoes. People want a new air system control or air conditioning, centralized air conditioning in their spot. They don't have one. People want to fill their food up with refrigerator. Damn, my bad. I'm talking too fast. People want to fill their refrigerator up with food. People want new clothes. They're tired of wearing the same clothes that they've been wearing since they were in middle school. Right? Now they're an adult. People want to fix that broken screen on their phone. But you want to exchange contact information, bring a woman back and have sex with her. And I don't condone that live stream that I did where this woman tried to stab that brother over in Pattaya. Because, like I said, he probably was asking her, "Are you this?" And she probably said, "No, I'm not." And then she wanted a little bit of something. She kind of wanted a tip more than his tip. She wanted a money tip to go back home to. Probably wasn't even asking that much, maybe $20, $30. He was just like, "Hey, you told me you weren't a hoe. You told me you weren't having sex for money." And this is why guys get attacked with knives. Because yeah, she might say, "Hey, yeah, I'm not really a prostitute, but damn, like, I'm putting myself out there. I'm raising my body count with you to give you a good experience. You don't live here. You're not trying to move here. You're gonna go back to America in your nice living condition with your Hellcat. You're gonna pick your Hellcat up at the airport, drive back home in a nice living condition, go back to work. And what's that gonna do for me? What's it gonna do for me getting with you for free? Nothing, right? It's extreme poverty over in places like Pattaya, right? People are taking it day by day. Mom has a food truck, not making no money. She made change today. She made $7.38 in change today. Can't even feed all her kids. What does she expect the family to do? There's no man in the household, right? So my thing is this: if you're gonna go, especially to Asian countries like Thailand, and there's nothing wrong with looking for a relationship or a girlfriend, but here's the thing though: black American men are backwards. Man, I'm looking for a girl, yada yada yada. Where do they go? They go to Walking Street. They go to 808 and Flex. These aren't places where you look for a girl. Well, I'm not trying to make them my girlfriend. I'm trying to hook up with them. How much are you offering? Nothing. Okay. Everybody, all the women on that strip are transactional, monetized, whatever you want to call it. Hungry, starving, not able to eat meals like you are. Well, I mean, I could take them out to eat. No, man. Like some people, they got to pay bills, right? This isn't going to pay bills. They're making $150 a month at their job. And you want me to clear my schedule out for you every single time you come into town. You have seniority at your job. You're able to travel 5 times a year, 2 weeks every single time. I'm just supposed to clear my schedule out for you to get banged out and dug out by you every single time you come into town while you try to look for other girls and you're not paying. I could be getting a second job, right? Or I could be dealing with a guy who would appreciate me clearing out my schedule for him, and he might drop 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 baht for me. I could finally put some food in my refrigerator. I could probably fix that hole in the floor. I could fix that toilet that's been backed up for the last 6 months, right? I could buy a new shower head. I could redecorate the bathroom. I could tell my mother, like, hey, you know what? Don't worry about you only making change selling refried mystery meat on the strip using the same peanut oil from from the food truck. Don't worry, Mom. I got us. A lot of guys are very, very selfish. Black men don't get it. Men who think like that don't even travel, right? Actually, there's nothing wrong with traveling, but if you expect everything in life to come to you for free, especially access to women, then don't travel for that reason. Travel because you just want to explore and learn, right? But if you traveling and one of the things you want is free women and women to like you, and they're living in these very, very harsh conditions, women that live by the airport, right? The mother, brother, dad, and her all sleep in the same bed, you out of your damn mind, right? If you want to look for women who are, that kind of have that are in a different tax bracket, actually looking for a relationship, I always said, go, you know, tap in with the women at a university, at an international university. But guess what? How many black men, how many black American men? I went to a university in Thailand. I went to an international university in Thailand. Do you know how many black American men were there on campus? Two. And that two includes me. For years, I've been telling black men, hey, go to these campuses, right? That's where you're going to find women equality. No, I never saw it. Where did they go? Flex and 808 in Pattaya and complain that all the women there are selling sex. Who the hell is that? I don't know you. And complain that women are selling sex. Women come from dirt poor living conditions. I knew a guy, he refused to pay anything for women. And he had some of the most atrocious stories with women from Pattaya. Actually, I interviewed him before years ago on this same channel. That guy that I told you about, I don't mean to put his business out there, but he had a very nice car. He had a very nice car, lived in a nice neighborhood, had a nice home. It would have been nothing for him to give a woman $30, $40, $50, right? Sometimes women, they take a chance on you and they hang out with you and then they become frustrated and they don't really know how to express themselves and say it directly to you, like, motherfucker, don't you get it? Look around. You don't understand what's going on here. People are fucked up out here. And all you want to do is take women out to restaurants and feed them, take them to the movies, take them back to your spot, fuck them, take them to the club, buy them drinks. None of that money you spending is going in their pocket, but yet you want to feed them to fatten them up, get them drunk, which is further going to put more weight on them. It's like you just going to make me fat and then you're going to leave. Now my metabolism's all fucked up. My liver's all fucked up. So, this is why I say black American men are at the second to last on the pyramid, and you don't even know the language. You're the second to last on the dating period. Now, who's at the very bottom? I mean, that's I would have to say respectfully is black women. All right. Black women at the very bottom of the dating pyramid, right? Um a lot of people I remember, and I'm not saying this to sound negative, it's just that um from my experience, from what I've seen, it's, I've met I've met like two women in passing that were black that were just friendly and a breeze to be around. One of them was from Michigan and she was living in Bangkok. She was like a loner traveler, and she was like, I like being in places where I'm the only foreigner. I like venturing out into the countryside. And I remember telling her, like, hey, just be careful. I don't want to be preachy or anything, but I'm saying that because to give my word, to give my blessing so that you're protected. Do you understand? Like, if that made sense? And she was like, I fully understand and I appreciate it. Thank you. Right. Because I don't want anything happening to anybody. Right. I just wanted her to be safe because she seemed nice. Right. Wasn't rude or anything. But I'm gonna be honest with you. The 98% of black women that I met overseas were very, very rude and disrespectful. Just and I don't want to get too deep into it. Now, were they rude and disrespectful to other races of people? No, right? But to brothers, yes. And that's why that one young lady, she cute. She cute, I'll give it that. From TikTok, I did that video on, and she was just like, um, black men, what's up with y'all? Why y'all so weird? When I say hello to you, you just ignore me. This is and a third. Like I said, Thailand is a no judgment zone. You cannot show up in a no judgment zone and start judging people and then calling them out on social media. And now you're disrupting the peace, right? And I understand where she's coming from. So I'm not against what she's saying, but doing it in that manner, right? Especially on a platform where people easily go viral. And then on top of that, you had old tweets that were brought up of you kind of denigrating black men on social media. So you showed up with a negative disposition towards black men. And then we can see it and feel it in the video. That wasn't cool, right? It's Thailand is a no judgment zone. And I've said this before. I've seen guys that they start off hooking up with women, then all of a sudden they're hooking up with lady boys. It's a no judgment zone. I've seen guys who they show up as a heterosexual man, and then you don't see them for a while. The next year they show back up as a trans woman. It's a no judgment zone. All right. That Japanese guy that invited me to the soccer game who had a free ticket, he told me one time he went to Nana Plaza and he saw somebody that looked real good, but then when he got to the back room, he was like, I think this person was a lady boy. And he was just like, man, he just kept going. And he told me that in confidence. I didn't judge him for that. I didn't stop hanging out with him. We had a laugh, right? We chuckled. I didn't judge him for that. Just like, hey man, be careful, get tested, and hopefully you're clean. All right. Do you have enough money to get tested? All right. It's a Thailand is just one of those places where it's a no judgment zone. So for that person to get online and to quote unquote call out black men for not saying hello to you, that's not cool. Now, from my experience, years, I used to say hello to black women in passing all the time, and I would get the same reaction from black women. Whereas black men, when we see each other, we give the head nod, or sometimes we stop each other and talk. Right. So, brothers amongst ourselves, we don't have that problem. All right. Now, I know that a lot of black women they can't really seem to find anything long term over there. I haven't seen it. Um, and if you're trying to position yourself to, I don't know, if your preference, and I'm not knocking you, if your preference is to date somebody Asian, it's not going to be anything long term if you find somebody. Um, somebody of another race, right? It's a possibility, but you know, how can I put it? Aesthetically, you got to at least be in shape. And there's a lot of women that show up. There's black women that show up in shape to Asia. So I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say what y'all are thinking. I know what y'all are thinking. I know what some of y'all are gonna say. There's actually women just like the woman I just described earlier from TikTok, who was calling out, quote unquote, calling out black men for not saying hello back. She's in shape, right? She's cute. She's in shape. Um, so there's a lot of women like her that show up to Asia, but as far as um, as far as them, I don't know what their dating preference is. And like I said, there's some women they just show up. They're not worried. Dating is not on their mind. They just trying to relax and travel and explore. That's fine, right? But for those who have their options, well, have their who are open minded, right? That are trying to date Asian men. I don't, I don't dating. I wouldn't call it. There are some hookups where it's kind of like some people kind of have a bucket list, and one of the things on the bucket list is probably having sex with a black woman, and you know to get it in one or two times with that person, scratch it, they move on, right? So they don't really have. I don't really see long term relate. I've only ever seen three black women in long term relationships with Asian men overseas, and none of them were in Thailand. Two of them were in Korea, and one of them was in China. All right. So it's possible, right? It's possible, but that's not the norm. All right. Whereas like, and it depends on where you position yourself. So Korea would be better for black women because, you know, you have the military base. So if you're trying to date somebody locally and it's not working out, you always have brothers that are there teaching English, doing the same occupation as you, or there's the military base, right? You can get you a pookie off the military base. So, and I've seen that, right? You have other options. If you're not really into the men that are around you that are doing the same thing as you kind of want to deal with somebody who has kind of a different mindset, then you have uh soldiers, with all due respect, you have soldiers nearby that, in shape, they have to maintain their shape because they got to take sometimes 2 tests a year, right? Their PT tests, they got to take 2 PT tests a year. If they're really in shape, they only got to take 1 PT test a year, benefits. So it's best to position yourself. If you want to experience Asia, position yourself somewhere near a military base, right? And explore or enjoy that country with somebody, right? But as far as interracial dating with somebody Asian or somebody from the dominant society, I haven't seen that long term with black women overseas. I've seen brothers get married. I've seen brothers have kids, black men getting married, having kids. I haven't really seen East Indians do that. They pretty much keep it within their own culture. They kind of just come over to have fun. Uh, I've seen other Asian men, Thai, Singaporean, Korean marry into Thai society, right? They found them a Thai woman. I've seen that. Japanese, I've seen that, right? White men, of course, black men, of course, uh, white women if they want to, but black women, no. I've it's very, very rare, right? So it's not to be rude or disrespectful, but that's the pyramid. That is the pyramid. Uh, sh- Shooting from the sky. That black woman who came to Bangkok complaining what bros don't talk to. Yeah, I just talked about her. I checked her TikTok. She she has a lot of I hate black men stuff in it for some reason. That's no surprise. They are fetishized by some white men. Yeah, like they have they have hookups not by choice, right? It's it's not like they're going around wanting to hook up with guys here and there. It's just that's what happens, right? If you look at their DMs and the messages that they get from men, it's very direct, it's very vulgar. To a certain degree, I feel bad, right? Because he's kind of like you want the full Thai experience or the full Asian experience. Um, you travel, you get a job, you find yourself an apartment, you end up meeting somebody locally, y'all move in together, you know, things, one thing happens, one thing leads to the next, you end up dating or you end up getting married and stuff like that. A lot of people want that experience, right? Look at what you see on the screen right now. This is exactly what I was talking about in the pyramid, right? You have a you have people who found their tribe, right, amongst themselves. They probably met. Well, this is AI. This is an AI photo. They probably met, right? But this is real. They probably met in Thailand. They enjoy each other's company. They both of the same race, same complexion. They have, uh, they're like minded. They like to explore, travel. They met each other in Thailand. Bam, they hit it off. Or you have women, a woman who's Caucasian. It's not like, I just kind of found somebody who was Asian in Thailand. They could be Thai, they could be Vietnamese, they could be Singaporean, whatever nationality, and they hit it off. right? Whatever experience they want to have, they hit it off. You have an Asian couple over here, right? And in their friend circle, there's another foreigner that they met that they're having friends with. I mean, excuse me, that they're having dinner with, right? That they're all friends over at this table. I mean, I couldn't fit every race into this photo, but this is enough to see right here. This is enough to see, right? You see this dynamic, this social dynamic all the time in Thailand, right? But black women, now I've seen brothers. I mean, I've even went on dates with black women overseas in Asia. Uh, do I regret it? In hindsight, yes, but you know, I don't. I do and I don't regret it. I try not to regret anything, but if I could turn back the hands of times and not waste my time going on dates with black women, well, the black women that I met over in Asia, yes, right, yes. I met. I told you about the story of the woman who was half black, half Thai that I went on a date with, and I hung out with her 3 times, and each time was uh, something I told myself. I'm like, hey man, why am I here? Each time it was always something. The first time we met, she was on the phone the whole entire time. From the time we met up at the mall, we sat down, she was on the phone the entire time. To the time I paid for the food to get up to leave, she was still on the phone. And when my train came, I said, bye, I'm going home. Then she wanted another chance. I'm like, okay, I'm at Mega Bangna Mall. Meet me here at Mega Bangna Mall. She wasn't really on her phone, but her head was on a swivel looking around like, I'm like, ma'am, what is wrong with you? Is everything okay? Is somebody after you? Right? Are you in danger? No, no, no. Everything cool. She would not stop looking around. So it sounds like you got a dude, but she had 2 phones. So I'm like, oh, okay. She got 2 phones like Kevin Gates. She's in the game. Okay, this chick is in the game. Then the third time, right? Ordering up a bunch of food, putting it on my tab, and showing back up to my spot. I'm thinking you know, we about to do what adults do, right? We about to beat cakes, right? You about to hear moaning and groaning and cheeks clapping in my room, right? I'm thinking we about to get it in, but I noticed there was something on the bottom of her skirt. I'm like, what is that? Right? This woman had human feces on her skirt, right? I don't know where she sat down at when we was out, but she sat down in some shit, and I think it was human shit, and went in my bathroom and covered the whole bathroom in water using that bidet to dish out the shit stain that was in her skirt. When she got done, I said, "Hey, you know what? I called you an Uber. It's downstairs. You can go back home." Man, I looked in that bathroom. That whole bathroom was covered in water. The sink was covered in water. The mirror was covered in water. The toilet was covered in water. The floor was covered in water. Right? The shower glass was covered in water. So Then I met another black woman, well, somebody half black, half Thai, that I was in a university with, and she didn't snap at me. She snapped at this East Indian dude because we had a group discussion. And I don't know, this woman went off on him for no reason, just angry as hell, just mean, angry as hell. I'm like, ma'am, calm down. Like, it wasn't even that serious, right? There was another black woman who kind of wanted to see what's up with me, right? Trying to make plans with me. Like, hey, why don't we travel to? I mean, she was trying her hardest. She kept inviting me over to the house and wanted to make plans with me over the winter break to go to Korea. Why don't we travel to Korea together? I'm like, nah, I'm good. Right? The whole time, this woman had a boyfriend, and she actually introduced me to the boyfriend as her friend. Right? It wasn't in person, but she was like, yeah, when you go to this class, there's gonna be a guy named this. There's gonna be a guy there. He'll be there. I know him because he's part of, like, she was South African. He's also South African. He hangs out within our group. We're all South Africans and this and the third. There's gonna be a South African guy at this class on Saturday that you'll go to. His name is this. He's cool. Yada yada yada. Man, the whole time that was a dude, right? That was her dude. But she saw, okay, this man, he don't seem like he's interested. And we had a company dinner. She shows up with him, and I'm like, wow. But I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. Basically, this woman was trying to either cheat behind his back or line up a new situation with me so that she could break up with him. And I'm just like, hey. And I guess she ended up staying because I wasn't budging. I didn't want pretty much nothing to do with her. Right. She was a little bit too old for me. Well, not a little bit. She was too old for me. Right. So I'm cool. But it was that sneaky lying behavior. Right. You trying to get away from somebody, just, you know, and I get it. Some people want to line up their new guy like they line up a new job, right? Have something lined up before you quit your job. Have something lined up before you break up with your dude. So emotionally, you're not in limbo. You're not in a gray area emotionally. You have something to fall back on or fall forward on, whatever. But I haven't seen black women with like the best dating experiences over in Asia, especially in Thailand. So I would have to put them at the bottom. And it's not, some of it is by, most of it is by force, some of it's by choice, because you could just cooperate with a black man who's there, and then y'all travel and enjoy each other's company. But you know, I don't even want to go deep into that. I don't even want to keep. I don't think I need to further explain that. You already know what the deal is. Like, it goes without saying why they just don't, kind of, like I said, find your tribe. You know why they don't try to find somebody of their own background that looks like them, that they can enjoy a place like Thailand with. And that's kind of like, and that would work. You put your income with this person, you have a really nice condo, right? But it is what it is, right? So that's the dating pyramid. And look here, man. Uh, if you a man, right? Uh, if like I said, as far as a person who can kind of have whatever experience they want, like, hey, man, I'm looking for a wife. I'm not looking to engage into extracurricular activities on the red light district. I'm looking for a white guy to say I'm looking for a wife to have children and build a home with. He could do that, right? With no problem. He could do that. Just got to be careful, be cautious, and because some women that he comes across, he might feel like, hey, man, I think this person is targeting me. And in many cases, he probably wouldn't even know until it's too late, until years later down the line, and it's too late, right? And then some women are he might get with that are genuine. I've seen genuine relationships uh, with a white Caucasian male, with a Thai woman. They have a family, and it's genuine. I've seen it. I've seen relationships blossom into a business. One of the biggest, largest motorcycle, scooter rental companies in Bangkok is a married couple, a British Caucasian male with a Thai woman, and she's cute. And he's every bit of ugly, right? He looked like Rodney Dangerfield with wooden teeth. That's what he looked like, right? With Crohn's disease, the Crohn's disease eyes, bug eyes, look just like him. But, you know, him and his wife had a business. They had really, really nice bikes. And the sister in law, the wife's sister, was running. They had two locations. The wife's sister was running the other location. So, I've seen a relationship, a marriage blossom into a business, right? Uh, but other guys, it's kind of like they kind of know what the deal is. Other Asian men that when I say Asian men, I'm talking about Asian men of other nationalities that aren't Thai that end up in Thailand. Um, a lot of guys, they find their tribe amongst women of their own culture. I've seen Chinese men and women stick together in their groups and they date each other within their group, right? Vietnamese, they stick with each other in their group. Japanese people just find their tribe, and some people they end up dating and marrying each other, or they'll branch out and they'll find somebody locally to date or marry. All right, but you know, um, I've seen Africans get together, you know, in their group. I don't know how tight knit they are, but I've seen them start businesses with each other. Like I said, I was kicking it with the Guineas in the gym district in Saladang in Thailand. They had their businesses. Now, their shop was a bit sloppy. It wasn't as organized as the Chinese, the Koreans, the East Indians that had their shops. It wasn't as organized, but they had their own business, right? And they was doing okay. But Black American men and women, when it comes to finding their tribe, it's a circus. It's disastrous. It's almost non-existent, right? Only time Black Americans kind of get together is just like symbolic gestures. That's it. You know, like when Black Panther came out, that's when there was like a black meetup to go watch this film, right? Or if it's Juneteenth, it's to meet up over here to eat at a restaurant, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's perfectly fine. But to have that community to network and to build businesses, nah, that is non-existent in Thailand. Filipinos, they got their own they got their own schools for their children in Thailand, right? They got their community, they got their culture, they got their neighborhoods. Koreans, they got their own plaza right there on Nana. They got their own plaza with all their businesses. They got their and there's businesses in other locations that they have. You know, like their restaurants and coffee shops and dessert shops, right? And they party with each other. They do business with each other. They got their own. Uh, I've seen they have their own shuttle service. I've seen it. They stick by each other. Chinese people really stick by each other. They have, Chinatown in Bangkok. Africans. I already explained in Solidang, the gym district. I'm like, I met a bunch of guineas, selling jewelry, got their own shops. Black Americans, nah. And when you try to bring up a business idea, people just get to fighting and arguing and, cutting on each other, jonesing, signifying whatever it is you want to call, snapping on each other, talking shit to each other. Um, it's just every man for himself. When they Black American, you can't. Only time y'all somewhat kind of come together is an 808 and flex, and that's a shit show within itself because you go in there to come together and stand in a section with each other, dap each other up, and kind of shoot the shit and talk and chop up gang. It doesn't. It doesn't. There's not a business idea that blossoms from that. And then on top of that, you want women in your section that you ain't paying for. So, shooting from the sky says, I'm a sellout. I like real hair. Too many aggressively friendly foreigners out here. I'm like, you came out to Thailand and talked to me. What the fuck? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind people chopping up game. It's just that if I'm getting a weird vibe from people, then I'll end the conversation and keep it moving. There's a lot of interesting characters in Thailand. There's a lot of interesting characters when you travel. You know, some people are cool, but that's like anywhere you go. When there's an interesting character trying to talk to me in Canada or America, I just like, hey, uh, God bless, and I keep it moving. Right? Shooting from the sky says Kai girl in 808 wanted to beat me up because I didn't want to talk to her. She was just too ill. Yeah, see, dude, going over there is the last place I want to hang out at. If you've been around since the inception of this channel back in 2017, when I used to do live streams all the time. I used to do video game live streams. I used to walk around doing live streams. I used to do pre-recorded videos, walking through different neighborhoods, walking through the mall in Bangkok. If you've been around that long, you know that I always talked about staying away from Pattaya. I never liked going over there. I went over there just to see what it was like, just to say I've been there once or twice, but I never hung out over there like that. I'm not gonna say I hated it, but Pattaya wasn't for me, right? Pattaya was just not for me. And yeah, they want to beat you up because man, a lot of guys, brothers just aren't paying. Brothers aren't paying. Now, white guys, they'll pay. Asian guys will pay. East Indian guys will pay. All races in between will pay. But black men, it's like, you know, too busy wanting people to like you so much. Like you too busy worrying about people liking you and she like me for me. Uh, wear your hearts on your sleeves too much. Thinking everybody's your friend. Man, let me tell you, and this is no disrespect. I mean, I've heard what Thai women said about East Indian men. All right, it's never been positive. It's never been positive. I'll just say it like that. And I don't mean this to sound disrespectful. I'm just telling it like it is. Right? I've never heard a Thai woman like say anything positive about East Indian men over in Thailand, but they still have access to them in businesses conducted because East Indian men will pay. You go in some of these clubs, 808 Flex, them women, they'll have a meeting, they'll have a powwow, and one girl will say, "Hey man, fuck these black dudes in this club, they're not paying. The East Indian men, they're paying." Right? If you've ever been in Thailand, you know the living conditions from some of these women. Stop penny pinching. Stop being so. I mean, that's bum shit to me, right? That's bum shit. You know, a lot of these women they don't really have, especially with social pressure. A lot of women don't even have the wherewithal to just get out there and make the money to live like a comfortable lifestyle. They don't have the wherewithals to just get up, go out there from social pressure because it's kind of like, let's say working construction, what's the go-to job? I don't know, what's the go-to job in Thailand where it's like, okay, damn, this is hard work, but this will allow me to get my bag up, right? Some people, um, it's working in Cambodia doing translation work, right? Translating documents where they have to be in a dorm with other people for like, I think like 6 months. They get 6 months contracts. They get 6 month contracts each time, and at the end of that contract, um, they can renew it. But then they usually all the money that they've made over in Cambodia working at a job, translating all these documents, right? If they have that skill, or writing out all these documents in Thai, um, I know somebody because of that. What's that? What was that called? Rouge. That incident that happened in Cambodia. Uh, what was that called? It was Rouge something. It was a genocide. Uh, it was yeah. It's called Khmer Rouge. The Cambodian genocide was a systematic persecution and killing of Cambodian citizens by the Khmer Rouge under the general secretaryship of Pol Pot. It resulted in the deaths of 1.5 to 2 million people from 1975 to 1979, nearly 25% of Cambodia's population in 1975. Right, so they were slaughtering. They slaughtered 25% of its own population. It's like, hey, it's too many of y'all, and they ordered. It was a slaughter. that happens. So a lot of people escape Cambodia to seek asylum in Thailand, and the Thai government allowed it, but they allowed them to go to school, but they were never allowed to become a Thai citizen. You see what I'm saying? After they graduated, they could only be in Thailand for a certain amount of time, and to maintain their status, um, they could work at restaurants and stuff like that. They can work in warehouses, but they weren't making any money. There's no money in doing that, right? They get paid far less than what Thais make. And so they can't go back to Cambodia because they can't even speak their language. They can't speak whatever the language is in Cambodia. They can't really speak the language, or they can speak it. They can't read it, right? So they're illiterate. I've met some Cambodians. It's like they can speak Cambodian, but they can't read it, or they can't read or speak Cambodian, but they know Thai. So there's like a company over in Cambodia that allows Thais and Cambodians who are part of this genocide that can go over there and somehow translate a bunch of documents, I don't know, in Thai or whatever the case may be. But I know they have to sit in an office and type all day nonstop for like 6 months, right? 6 months. They're in a dorm and they get paid decent money for the most part. They get paid enough to take care of themselves, get a car, right? Save up, send money to their family. But they step off the scene for 6 months, and then they go back to Thailand. They'll probably hang out for like 2-3 weeks. After their vacation, they sign back up for that job, that company, and they're back typing in Cambodia for 6 months, and they're not allowed to leave the compound. All right. I don't know what I forgot how I got on that subject matter anyway. But I'm just teaching you a little bit about culture. All right. Oh yeah, I remember. So you're dealing with women who they don't really have an option because of social pressure. They can't really go out there and get the money that they want, you know, especially if they could be a full-time prostitute, but it's so much competition. It's kind of like, how much money are you really getting? Then on top of that, um, I don't know what's the other alternative that somebody could do to get a bag or to get a little bit of money so that they can afford a certain lifestyle in Thailand. What is that? Construction, but working outside in the sun doing construction that makes your skin darker, and because of social engineering, you know, their status drops. Like, okay, yeah, you might have a little bit more money in your pocket, but your status drops. And how many women are actually in working outside doing construction, right? That other business opportunity I told you about, okay, cool, but it's like, it seems like you really don't have a life. You can only date somebody who's in that compound with you, working in Cambodia, right? Doing that job 6 months out of the year, taking time off, 2 weeks off, then going back doing another 6 months, but working, you know, dating somebody where you work. I mean, you're essentially shitting where you sleep, right? You're eating, shitting, sleeping in the same place. And then if things don't work out, you got to see this person every single day. So if they have a little job where they're getting a little bit of money and they're also trying to take care of their family or whatever, man, if If you're forget about international universities because their family is well off, but if you're in a place like Pattaya on Walking Street, there's no reason why you can't pay for anybody's service, even if they stop and speak to you, right? Even if they stop and speak to you and you're not even looking for sex that night, you can still pay somebody for their time, right? But like, hey, look, I gotta go. It's nice talking to you. Here's a little something for you. I hope that helps. Take care. All right. And some women might accept that. Some women might say, "Hey, man, you know what? I'm not a charity case. Don't give me your money." But for the most part, if you're down soy six or soy cowboy or anywhere in Pattaya on Walking Street, I, I don't, I don't see why you can't. I don't see why any woman wouldn't accept an offer from a man or a tip from a man, even if y'all are just talking. And then on top of that, I don't see why you can't break somebody off. You know what I'm saying? You're expected to tip, especially if they gave you good service in America. Same thing goes for Thailand. You are down one of the biggest hole strolls in the world, and you like, man, I don't know, all these women out here, they just selling pussy out here. You're an idiot. So this is why it puts brothers at the bottom of the totem pole as far as dating in Thailand, because for whatever reason you don't get it. And I've been saying this for years. Brothers, especially in the passport community, are well, black men and black women are are the most hard headedest. And I know that's not even a word. Like I'm putting so much emphasis on an incorrect word that's not even a word because that's how hard headed most black men and black women are when it comes to traveling. You got a lot of black content creators from TikTok, and there's so many now, right? There's so many black Americans that are TikTok content creators living in Thailand that now they're talking about, oh man, they're cracking down on immigration. It's so bad now. Motherfucker, this what you're talking. I know you're making content. I get it. I know you're making content. But they implemented this law back in 2018, January 1st, 2018. It ain't nothing new. It's nothing new, right? If you've been following me long enough on this platform, you heard me talk about this in 2017. It was like October, November, all the months leading up to January 1st, 2018. I said, hey, man, they're cracking down at immigration. They're not allowing people to just fly in and fly out. You need a visa when you arrive. And if you're going to stay, you have to work towards a job. You need to stay here and work your way towards a job or a student visa or a marriage visa, some kind of visa that'll keep you here. Flying in and out, using this place as a digital nomad. This ain't the country to do it. It's oversaturated, and they're getting rid of people who are on overstay, even if it's one day. This was back in January 1st, 2018, at the top of the year of 2018. This has been going on. Now they're on the internet 8 years late talking about, hey man, they cracking down. This is what they're doing. They've been doing that. The only reason why there was kind of a pause and they kind of lightened up and fell back from those strict immigration laws was because of the pandemic. They're like, fuck. And that threw a whole monkey wrench in the tourism industry in Thailand. Then when things got back to normal, they just said, hey, you know what? Things are back to normal now. Let's go back to how things were on what we had set in place in 2018. So this ain't nothing new. But when I talk about immigration law, well, I mean, I'm not a popular platform. I don't show my face, anything like that. So, I'm not on people's algorithms like that because, I don't get on camera, nothing like that. So I'm not a big platform at all. But man, when I did talk about that, the changing of the immigration laws back in 2018, man, how many people you think was in the chat room when I was talking about that? Maybe one or two, 40, 50 views, right? The most, talking about something important. But when I was talking about women, 30 views, total of 2,000, 3,000 views at the end of the video. I got uh I got 2Mac. We doing a live stream. I got D-Cell. We're doing a live stream talking about the women in Thailand. At the end, 3,000 views, 6,000 views, 7,000 views talking about women. But when I talk about immigration, hey man, don't just show up with no visa and keep flying in and out. Don't nobody give a damn. I'm keeping $600 on me at all time when I go into the airport. For what? What is that gonna do? Your $600 ain't gonna do nothing. What is that gonna do? Keep you in the country? Hey man, if you let me back in, I'll give you $600. They're like, man, no, get the fuck out. There's plenty of people here with thousands of dollars in here. It's oversaturated. And when we don't keep track, when we lose track of people that come here, they tend to overstay, right? And then when they on overstay, that's when they get into trouble. That's when they get into criminality. You didn't see the news, this lady got stopped. What do you mean she got stopped? Stopped because of what? What do you mean she got stopped? People get stopped all the time in Thailand. What do you mean? But anyways, stopped from entry at DMK Airport for being broke. Yeah, they used that's how it was when I first got to Thailand in 2014. I did my research in advance, right? I got a visa prior to showing up to Thailand. I didn't show up with a landed stamp. I got, where was I? I was in Canada in 2014. So I went to the immigration office in Canada and I gotten a visa prior to me traveling over to Thailand. And the requirement was at the immigration office, they said, hey, you need to have this much money in your account and you got to print out your bank statement and be able to show them. And they wanted to look at that when I got to Bangkok in 2014. Right now, since then, going in and out of the country, I didn't have to show it because I had either a student visa or a non-B visa. Right. When I showed up in 2022, April of 2022, they were still under strict. This is when they were just starting to open up Thailand because of the pandemic. They didn't ask to look at your bank statement, but see, the thing about it is you needed a QR code, right? In order to get that QR code, you have to show a that you got your shots, that you got your COVID shot, a bank statement, and a list of other things, your hotel bookings. You had to have all that in place and upload it to the website. And then they gave you a QR code so that when you showed up to Thailand, you just had to have a QR code. They would scan it, then they would let you into the country. So, as a matter of fact, yeah, you did need to. You didn't need to show them the bank statement because you already uploaded it on the website, and that gave you the QR code. Did they let us show a bank account on our phone? Yeah, I mean, this is this is life. This is traveling, right? When you go to certain countries, see, you don't need to do all that in places like Taiwan. Why? Because they don't have they don't have the same level of immigration problems in Taiwan as they do in Thailand. Right? Thailand is the most visited country in the world. So they have a problem with people overstaying their welcome. And then the people that don't overstay, they get into a lot of shady shit most of the time. And then they catch them in the act committing a crime, and then they find out, okay, damn, they're on overstay. But yeah, like, but yeah, so places like Thailand, yeah, you need to show bank account statements and everything. I can only imagine what it's like coming to America for foreigners. They probably have to do the same thing, right? But you go to Panama, you don't need to show all that. Why? Because it's not it's not a hotbed for freaks all over the world to travel to, right? China, they don't ask for that. She did a lot of visa runs. Yeah. Yeah. Like you keep going in and out. They're gonna be like, dude, this is like your third or fourth time coming in. I saw a black woman on TikTok. She do I still got the video? Let me see if I got the video. I probably still have the video. It was a black woman on TikTok talking about they're kicking me out the country for no reason and this is and a third. Man, that ain't it. They kicking you out the country for a reason. Because you did not want to do your due diligence and do the research, right? And listen to nobody. I thought I downloaded the video. I guess I didn't. I thought I saved it, but I didn't. I remember I left a comment, right? Man, she was getting kicked out. She was like, I still had 3 more months. 3 more months. How many times did you fly in and out of Thailand? Right? They'll here's the thing. Didn't I break this down in the last video? I think they said it's like 6 to 9 months, right? So if they see you have 2 stamps, your third time leaving, you might as well pack your shit and leave, unless you're getting a non-B visa, right? And you have to have paperwork to show that it's being processed, and then they'll let you back in. All right. You got to be able to tell them, like, hey, nah, I know I have 2 stamps, but I'm getting I'm getting this visa. Look, here's my paperwork. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just processing. Okay, we'll let you back in. What are you doing coming back here? You come back in a third time, they're like, What do you want?" "Yeah, I wanna come back in." "No." "What you mean, no?" "No. You can't just go in and out, in and out, in and out." Thailand is like your grandmama's house, right? Thailand is like your mama's house. Look, you're not just gonna be running in and out this house. All right. You either stay outside or you come back in and you staying in here. You ain't running in and out, in and out, in and out, slamming my door. All right. So since you in here, you staying in, say bye to your little friends. Or in their case, since you keep on leaving, stay your ass out. Well, hold on, let me get my stuff. Nope, you're not gonna get your stuff. We're not gonna let you get your stuff. What you mean you're not gonna let me get my stuff? No, you work that shit out with your landlord, have them send it to you. But I bought furniture and everything. Tough. They said this back in 2000. They said it. They warned everybody back in 2017 about this. I understand, you know, this might be people's first time actually going to, you know, going to Thailand. I know, I understand this is their first time, but they will give you 7 days. No, they won't. And Free Sadani, I haven't seen you in a minute. How's it going? I know you still out there in Thailand, huh? No, they won't. They won't give you 7 days to get your stuff. I've been in the airport when I've seen people get kicked out. I've worked next with people. I've worked. I've worked with people who couldn't come to work. They were banned from the country. They couldn't get their stuff because they kept traveling in and out. And they thought, okay, I'm gonna go to Singapore to, you know, get my non-B visa just because I want to go to Singapore. That's not how it works. You got to go to Laos to get your non-B visa because you got to kick back some of that money. It's a kickback for them for their economy, right? They don't process visas over in at the immigration office in Singapore, right? And they got kicked out. They couldn't get their stuff. They still had to pay rent. This the new law. Man, I promise you, they're not getting their stuff. They're not getting their stuff. They'll say that shit, and the people at the airport will say, fuck that. I've seen it. I've seen it. They don't, because imagine how many people every single day, because they'll say it's a law, but let me tell you, ties, they change their mind all the time. Do you know how many people that they stop every single day that they have to say, hey, you know what? No, you're not getting back in the country. They don't have the manpower to track, to babysit thousands of people every day, to take them to their condo, get their affairs together, and then come back to Thailand and have police escort do that. They don't have the manpower for that. So no, they'll say this is the law, man. Let me tell you, they said that back in 2017. In 2018, I've been in the airport. They're sitting down that hallway, everybody crying because they can't stay in the country and they won't let them go back to their condo to get their stuff so that they can take it with them back home. They got new technology for that. What kind of technology are you talking about? They're gonna stick a chip up their ass to track them. They're gonna download an app to track them. They they're gonna put a dog collar around their neck to track them. They're gonna tag their ear like cattle to track them. Face recognition. No, they won't. No, they won't. Sadani, no, they won't. I've seen it. I've seen it. The landlord, they will throw their shit away. You can't pay rent, I'm gonna throw your shit away and move somebody in here next week. AI cameras. Dude, they can't even fix the roads. They can't even fix the sidewalk. They can't even get rid of the cable lines, the thousands of cable lines that hang over the sidewalks every day. They can't even get aluminum fucking ladders. They still using bamboo ladders. But they got all this money for face recognition and AI cameras. No, they won't. You see these 4 people right here that's on screen? If they show up with 2 stamps in their passport, all 4 of them is going to be held and going to be sent back home and no access to that condo. And the landlord is going to say, I'm throwing your shit out and I'm moving somebody in here tomorrow. Salute the hot dusty. Hello, everyone. I'm not sure the women in Thailand have enough wagon in order to justify a trip going there. I talked about that on Patreon. As a matter of fact, I have to upload part 2 of Black men and Asian women compatibility today. I made it earlier today. But I talked about that on Patreon. Right? Because you go to some of these Latin American countries, the women, they have the look and the build that most brothers like, and they pretty much have like the same asking prices of Thailand as they do in some of these Latin countries. As a matter of fact, some of these countries are cheaper in Latin America. So the flight is cheaper, it's much closer, and asking for the same price, and you're getting a woman with the body type that you like, right? Where it's like you getting on a 26-hour flight to go to Thailand, and then when you show up to the airport, you standing in line in a snake line for like 2 hours just to get in. The first night you can't do anything because you jet lagged. So then you wake up, you hit the street, you hit the bricks. Right? And you hit the streets and you see basically it's all right, I'm already here. And women, they don't necessarily have the build that most brothers like. And I'm not saying that, that's everybody's preference. There are people who have Asian women are their preference. So I'm not knocking that. But I talked about that on Patreon. Yep, those South American wagons look lovely and well made. Yes. Yep. I was on I FaceTime I FaceTime 3 women last night. I FaceTime 3 women in the Dominican Republic last night who are all built exactly the way you're talking about. And they all 3 of them put on a show for me. Right? So yeah. But anyways, I'm gonna get off of here. You guys be cool, be safe. I'm gonna come back on here tomorrow. We'll do another live stream. The link for the Patreon page is in the description box below. I have part 1 and part 2 for Asian women, Black men, compatibility. Where does it sit at? I have part 1, part 2. I might do a part 3. All right. So, how to move in Thailand, part 6. I think part 6 should be yes, part 6 is going to be going to school, right? Part 6 is going to be education, going to school, not teaching. Part 7 will be teaching, but part 6 will be um maybe part 6 will be starting a family. All right. Which I don't have too much knowledge on, but so it won't be a super long video. But I am going to talk about, like, no matter what your kids are, whether they're, they're half white, half black, um, just some of the things that I've noticed biracial kids going to school in Thailand, what they experience. It's not it's not all good just because they're half white. You know what I'm saying? Most people think, well, they're half white. They're very popular and they're respected. That's not necessarily true, right? That's not necessarily true. Like, half white kids, half Thai, half white kids that go to school, some of them are they experience discrimination. Yeah. So we'll see. Anyways, I'm over them out. You guys be safe. Peace.